Hello everyone, Prime here, and recently I've been listening to a bit of Amon Amarth, and one of the songs talks about the whole Aesir-Vanir God war, and it got me thinking, what would happen if Mimir wasn't slain, if he didn't take the fall for Hoenir or Hoenir's stupidity? For those of you that don't quite know what I'm talking about when I say the Vanir-Aesir God War, the two tribes were locked in a deadly conflict. The Aesir had the stronger warriors, but the Vanir took the best mages, and the conflict ended in a stalemate. When the two sides figured out peace terms, they honoured the tradition of exchanging members from each side. Freyr and Nord from the Vanir, and Mimir, Hoenir from the Aesir. The funny thing was that in some versions of the story, Freyr was practicing the most powerful type of magic before the conflict and taught it to a variety of different beings in different places. Eventually she came to Asgard, where her talents were in high demand, but some of the gods noticed that their values had been warped since Freyr arrived and labelled her Gulvig, gold greed, blaming Freyr for this corruption and ending her life with fire 3 times, but after she was slain with fire, she was resurrected each time, or reborn each time. Eventually, the conflicts and disputes like this erupted into an actual war. That's one of the explanations for the Vanir-Aesir God War, at least. But I just thought it was funny that Freyr's practices might have sparked the war, and yet she was still traded back into Asgard territory, even though that could have been one of the catalysts for the war in the first place. What's more, she and her family saw better treatment overall than Mimir and Hoenir did. In Vanaheim, the Vanir took counsel from Hoenir, who was, to them, wise and trustworthy. But really, he just asked Mimir to tell him what to say. The Vanir weren't happy when they've discovered this, because when Mimir wasn't available and he was asked for counsel, he responded with, "Let the others say, or let the others deal with it." But eventually, this stopped working, and the Vanir felt deceived. They found out that Hoenir was pretty much a fool, and, well, they were pretty angry. So they ended Mimir's life and sent his head back to Odin. Most cultures would have considered this an act of war, but Odin preserved the head, and with some spells and knowledge, he was able to continue to receive wise counsel from Mimir. No one wanted the war to start back up, perhaps to a degree not even the Vanir, or at least some of the Vanir. So all of the gods created another god by spitting into a vat or something, and the most intelligent or smartest gods of all the gods was created from this exchange. But part of the reason a war might not have necessarily been started over Mimir was the fact that Mimir might have actually been a giant in Norse mythology. He could have been a god, but might have been a giant, and we know that Odin wasn't exactly sympathetic towards giants. He didn't necessarily spend every waking moment plotting their destruction, but that was pretty reasonable in my book, considering the fact that the prophecy stated that they would come to Asgard and, wreak all sorts of havoc come Ragnarok. My point is that as Mimir was a giant, whilst it was a blow to Odin, it wasn't as significant as Odin losing someone like Thor, Frigg, or Tyr, or perhaps even Hoenir. Plus, Odin had a way to restore Mimir and keep him useful. I'm not saying that Odin didn't care for Mimir, just that it's a possibility. But he did trade Mimir along with his less than valuable brother, after all, and arguably got the greater deal. Perhaps this was a show of good faith, as Hoenir was still related to Odin directly by blood, which most of the gods seem to be, but still. It was also partial assurance that the war just wouldn't restart itself. After all, if Hoenir was slain, then war would have been expected, right? Which was probably why Mimir took the axe anyway, because he was likely seen as more of an expendable being than the brother of the potential enemy. But then again, I suppose this assumes that Odin was a bit more divisive than not. If no one's blood is spilled, we still have the problem of an angered Vanir tribe. Remember, the Vanir just traded Nord, the god of the sea, and his children for Dum-Dum and a busy old man. Nord may have been the Vanir's tribe's leader, and he was in a hostage position now. Let's assume that this is one of the reasons why Mimir's head remains on his shoulders in this version. It also means that Odin has one more element of control over the Vanir than they probably signed up for, at least technically. After all, if the Vanir declared war and ended Hoenir in this case, Nord, Freyr, and Freyr would most likely die as well, assuming that some peace could be negotiated. As Nord, Freyr, and Freyr would all have knowledge about the inner workings of Asgard, can you imagine the tactical advantage that could possibly give the Vanir? They couldn't be allowed to live. But you have to wonder why the Vanir were so quick to use Odin's brother or triad member over their own advisors. Perhaps considering how significant Hoenir was next to Odin, considering that he gave humanity passion for the first humans, he might have had a bit of a reputation alongside him, and that might have convinced the Vanir alone that he was just more desirable than their own counselors. Of course, that's just a thought. In other words, Nord and his family were somewhat important to the Vanir. At least, that's what I gather from what we know about them, which isn't that much, admittedly. If one way or another things came to war, Mimir would likely be safe behind someone's walls to come up with strategies. And there is a possibility that he would be making strategies for the Vanir, considering the fact that he wasn't exactly 100% allied or loyal to Odin, that he charged Odin an eye for a drink from his well. If he was under the complete command of Odin, that probably wouldn't have happened. Besides, that's a more comfortable position than his God of War counterpart, who might not even be able to get drunk. Though, to be honest, I doubt that Mimir in God of War can't get drunk, considering the fact that he seems to really love to get drunk, considering how much he talks about it, which is a fair bit. And, well, if he really does know everything there is to know about everything, I'm sure he would have considered that and probably have said no. Unless, of course, Odin would have just denied him drink anyway, in which case, rip. But what do you think would have happened if Mimir wasn't slain by the Vanir gods? Do you think something else different would happen? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave it a like. And until the next video, have a very good day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.